Jimmy Butler, he's a very interesting player to me.
He's like, oh shoot, I don't know where to go with the ball because I haven't been able to think.
It was a great series. Game 4 was one of the best games I've ever watched in my entire life. Now LeBron's a four-time champion, and Anthony Davis gets his first.
It's unacceptable. So happy when the Astros lost because it would definitely be a 2020 thing.
Yeah, I was impressed by their game. Braden Point, Andre Palat, Nikita Kucherov. That was the best line in the playoffs, no doubt.
Stay undefeated when they face the mighty Cowboys with Garrett Gilbert.
Hey everyone, I'm Jared Sandler, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. We are back at it. It is the Cardinals redemption story. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined up by our cleanup hitter, Austin. I'll start by we are doing in, out, and maybe. You have to have at least one of each, and Dodgers already are in. They clinched, so no points there. You get a point for in or out, no point for maybe, but you're penalized for in or putting it out. One of those, you can get penalized, but you also get points. And you have to at least have one of each, but we can go without one maybe. And now I turn it over to the cleanup hitter.
Yeah, so you can be penalized for something wrong, so everything that we do is with a sense of intelligence, but we also want as many points as possible. Why would we not? So, do you want to start with the AL or NL? Your choice.
Ooh, let's do NL.
NL to start. Okay, Dodgers don't count. They've clinched. We're not going to give each other free points for nothing. So let's start out with the other division winners or leaders. Mets in. Even if the Atlanta Braves pass them, which I think is a true possibility, and if we were saying in as division winners, I'd put maybe. But just as people who will make the playoffs, in. Cardinals in. The Brewers could pass them, but I don't see it. Atlanta in. And then I have Phillies, Padres, Brewers, all as maybe. Those three teams, the Phillies and Padres, have tried not to make the playoffs the last a trillion seasons. I don't count 2020 as a year. It doesn't count to me because so many teams made the playoffs. It doesn't count. But those two teams have just never made the playoffs. They don't try to, even though they do. They just get in their own way. While the Brewers have made the playoffs very recently and often. So I think it's a better chance there. And then the Giants and the D-backs are out. Again, we did it. I don't think Kevin mentioned this, and if he did, I didn't catch it. We're going to teams that are at least 10 games out or less from the playoffs. So, for example, the next team under that is the Cubs at 16 games back. We're not talking about the Cubs. The Cubs are way out. We're not going to give each other free points. But it is possible with 20, 18, or 19 games left that you could come back and pull a Cardinals and win basically all your games and still have a chance of making it, especially in the case that you're closer. But within 10 games, we think it's possible.
Cool. All right, so my turn. And I'm just going to let you know, I have no maybes. Starting off hot.
On this side or both sides?
Oh, just on this side. The AL one's way much closer. Like with the NL, to me, there's a divide. And I'm not sure. So I'm pretty, I have a feeling, which totally can get burned by feelings. Thanks, Cardinals. We'll just get off first. Cardinals, you're in, okay? You're in. Don't get mad at me. Don't go on a streak or whatever. You do you, man. Mets in because same reason as you. I'm not sure if they keep the division lead, but they're going to definitely be a playoff team. Cardinals, I think, are going to be the division winner. Atlanta in. Probably going to be the division winner in my opinion. Phillies in. Padres in. Brewers out. Giants out. D-backs out.
Wow. Give me your reasoning why you don't think one of these two teams that is perennial not make the playoffs and choke their lives away is going to right the ship this year.
Okay, so it's more because I don't believe in the people outside.
You don't believe in the Brewers?
I don't believe in the Brewers. I don't believe in them. Because they got rid of Josh Hader and they kind of added more people to the bullpen. Matt Bush, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about them hitting wise Like, to me, I just don't see it because they're not going to win the division, in my opinion. And, like, Phillies and Padres, it's not a battle of who's better. It's just, like, I don't think either of those teams, I don't think the Brewers are going to be, I think they're going to not make it, even though they're 1.5 games out of a wild card spot and San Diego is having a rough time. I just don't believe in the Brewers. So I definitely could be burned, but it was just like with the maybe. I feel the Padres are in because they got to. For the sake of San Diego.
I just want to mention something really quickly. There's about 20 games left. In the last 10 games, the Padres are 4-6, while the Brewers are 6-4. If that repeats itself, Milwaukee will be in a playoff spot. So you're just saying that they are not going to be like they have been recently and are going to pick it up?
Yes, I feel they're going to mess it up. And I feel Padres are going to come together and be like, I know Juan Soto has not had a great trade deadline, post-trade deadline. I just think they're going to put it together and figure it out and make it. And that's why I have him in. And then it went to the Phillies, and I'm like, I could put him as maybe, but I just don't really believe in the Brewers. And Bryce Harper's back. Or he has been back. Correct?
Yes. He's not played as well, but that's because he's coming off injury. I expect that he'll pick it up a little bit more as we go along. But yes, he's back.
So that's why I have the Phillies in, because like they were treading water without Bryce Harper. And now Bryce Harper's back. So I feel he's going to pick it up. So that's why I took very risky for NL. And I most likely will I could get burned. But I'm not, like, I just don't believe in the Brewers. So it's not, I'm doing this for hot takes. I believe in this hot take.
Okay. Well, do you want to move on to AL and you go first?
Yes. The AL, I feel, is way more competitive. Specifically division leaders. Like, I don't, Cleveland is a maybe. Yankees in, Astros in. Cleveland's my maybe, though. Seattle in, Tampa in, Toronto out. White Sox out, Minnesota maybe, Orioles in. I'm buying into the hype with the Orioles.
The Orioles are another team. You're picking a lot of teams that are under 500 in their last 10 games.
They can turn it around. I believe.
Minnesota 4-6, Baltimore 4-6. A team that you said was out is Chicago, who's 7-3 in their last 10. Elvis Andrus, someone that you're very familiar with, is playing insane with Chicago right now.
I was listening to a podcast, and it's a great baseball podcast. And the guys from Chicago, and there's no way they make it. And I'm not sure with the White Sox. To me, they've just been a mess, and I don't think they're going to pull it off. But I feel Minnesota is going to pull it off, or they could pull it off. Because it's so weird with those three teams, like the division. Like Cleveland, I feel, has a better chance to make it because of their pitching. White Sox pitching can be... I was a buyer last year. I'm very skeptical now. Because Lance Lynn, depending on if he faces a fastball team, it's hard for him. Gaelito, the best pitcher on the White Sox has been Dylan Cease.
Yeah, who's a candidate for AL Cy Young. He probably won't win it because Justin Verlander's played insane, but he definitely has a shot.
But Cleveland, they got McKenzie. They got Bieber. Then their bullpen's great. Because you got Class A.
Yeah, Class A.
So I just
Karinchuk, yeah.
Yeah. I just believe in the pitching of Cleveland can get him there, and you have Jose Ramirez. And he can get enough done, and then you rely on your pitching. White Sox, to me, even though they have been hot lately, I'm feeling they're going to cool off. But with Minnesota, I think they can heat up. but they could also not heat up, and Cleveland maintains the lead. And then Orioles, I feel Gunnar Henderson has been great for them. And I think they're just going to really make it. And Toronto, I think, is going to fumble. If we want to talk football. Because I was looking at their schedule. There are some big series between the Orioles and Toronto Blue Jays.
They are the Blue Jays. Oh, between Baltimore and Toronto is what you're saying?
Yeah. I almost said Cardinals, which wrong bird. So Orioles, there are two main series. One is happening today, and I just think the Orioles are going to capitalize on that. And then, to me, Toronto had a tougher schedule than the Orioles, even though the Orioles faced the Astros, but they faced the Tigers. And then the Red Sox. So it goes, they face the Blue Jays, 3-game series. Then they face Tigers. Then they face Astros for a 4-game series. But then they have Red Sox, Yankees, but then Blue Jays again. So they end the season facing the Blue Jays, which I think will be, hopefully they're competitive. And then the Blue Jays schedule, it is facing the Orioles. Then you have the Phillies, and they're fighting for a playoff spot. Then you have the Rays, and they're also fighting for a playoff spot. Then Yankees, and then Red Sox, and then Orioles again. So the only really easy series in my mind is the Red Sox. Do you see my point there?
I do. I don't necessarily agree, but I see what
Well,
you're
you don't
saying.
agree, but you see, and I'm just buying into the hype of Orioles. And maybe there's some previous interactions with Blue Jay people.
Huh.
That it'd be nice if they fell out. And I'm just curious. Their starting pitching hasn't been what I thought it would be this year. Especially with Barrios, as he struggled this whole season.
Yeah, he is definitely struggled. But I think I have heard enough, and I can go on to mine. So Houston and Yankees in, Cleveland maybe, Seattle in, Toronto in, Tampa in, Baltimore out, Minnesota out, White Sox maybe. I think the only way a different team from the playoffs makes it is if the red hot Cleveland Indians, who are 8-2, fall out to the red hot White Sox. There's many games left. There's I think a series or two left between those teams, and not to mention, the White Sox don't have all that tough of a schedule coming up. So they have a series versus Detroit right now, and then they face Cleveland, which is a huge series, and then they play Detroit again. So if they just take care of business, they could sweep Detroit, win the series versus the Guardians, so they win 2 out of 3, sweep the Tigers again, and then they play against the Twins, who at that point may be out of the playoff spot completely and just resting everybody, and then they play the Padres.
Dang.
For the Guardians, their schedule is a little bit harder, in my opinion. They play the Twins right now, who are going to be fighting for their lives, and they play 5 games against them. 5. 1 today, 2 tomorrow, and today is Friday, obviously, but just for the viewers. On the 16th, they play the Twins, and then they play 2 games on the 17th, and then the 18th and the 19th, they play them. 5 games. Then they go right into the White Sox. So you have 8 straight games versus divisional rivals who are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. And then you have the Rangers, who I watched that Marcus Semien clip. That was hilarious. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see the clip?
Which clip?
Marcus Semien didn't realize that he was at bat and was sitting in the bullpen, or sitting in the dugout And then he was looking around and looked at the screen and said, Marcus Semien, he's in the dugout without his helmet on or gloves on or a bat. You see him frantically running around. It was hilarious.
I watched
yeah.
Young's debut, which was awesome.
Yeah. But then after the Rangers, they head to Tampa, another team fighting for their playoff lives. And then they play the Royals. So I think that the difference of 3 games could be made up, 2 of them, or at least one of them, in a matchup against Cleveland. I mean against the White Sox. To where if you lose that series 2-1, you'll lose a game to the White Sox. Now you're only 2 games ahead of them. And that's not to say that the Twins don't steal at least a game, maybe 2 out of this 5-game set. And then if the White Sox sweep Detroit, by the time that the White Sox are heading back to Detroit and the Rangers are heading to town to face, or no, the Cleveland's going to the Rangers, it'll be tied. And it's up to Rangers, Tampa, Royals, or let me go back to White Sox. I'm pretty sure it's Detroit, Twins,
Minnesota.
Padres. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that it could be stolen. We'll have to see. But every other team is in or out except for the White Sox and Cleveland.
Okay. Cool. So you and I have 2 maybes, but we're buying into different members. The same maybe as Cleveland, but we differ on White Sox and Minnesota.
And Baltimore and Toronto.
Well, yeah, but maybes, you and I just like switched maybes because you have a maybe for the White Sox, I have a maybe for the Twins.
Yes. I think Elvis Andrus is going to get it done. He's played amazing. His WAR has already doubled in the 25 games that he's played with the White Sox, has passed 120 games he played with the Athletics. He's been hitting over 300. He's been playing out of his mind. And I like to see it as someone from the Dallas area who grew up with a Texas team that I always thought had a shot. I mean, as a Yankees fan, I wanted the Yankees to win, but I always liked Texas. I never wanted them to lose. My family, or some of my family, are Texas fans, so I'm not going to hate on them or anything. And Elvis was one of my favorite players. I love watching great defense, and that's something that Elvis always brought to the table. Unfortunately, the Rangers can never get it done, but hey, he's only 33. Now he's on maybe a playoff team, and he's playing out of his mind, so we'll find out.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely happy for him. The White Sox, to me, have just been a roller coaster, and I think they're going to keep being a roller coaster. So,
well, roller coaster includes highs.
Yeah, but they also include lows. So we're betting on highs and lows. And I believe that's all I got. We'll talk to you tomorrow or in the future. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
Depends on when you're watching it.
Video goes up. What?
Yeah, it depends on when they're watching it and what time the video goes up.
Yeah, that will be depending on our intern. We'll take interns' Twitter. DM us on Twitter and follow us on Twitter. Outsiders, maybe OOPod21. Not sure. That should be the Twitter account. Just search up Outsiders Opinions. I'm not good at Twitter. But that's all I got. Thank you for listening. Any final thoughts, Austin?
Nope. Thank you guys for listening. We've gotten so many views recently, and I really do appreciate the love.
I also appreciate the love. And that's how we'll end the episode.